Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Dave Nadler with the National Weather Service in Peachtree City, Atlanta. It is about 2 o'clock on Thursday, March 13th, and this is our special severe weather briefing to discuss potential storm threats and impacts for this weekend across north and central Georgia. So, Sean, I know a lot of y'all have been hearing about this already the past few days. Starting to get into that 48 to 72 hour window where we could actually look at some of the details, give you some context as to what we're anticipating. So yeah, our confidence is high at this point that we are going to see some sort of severe weather across the area late Saturday through Sunday morning. There is discussion from SPC talking about like a tornado outbreak or significant severe weather outbreak just to our west in parts of Mississippi and Alabama, where there's a moderate risk out during the time frame on Saturday into Saturday evening. So there's that to our west that we'll be certainly watching as things develop during the day on Saturday. For us, the greatest sort of risk or time frame to see most of the severe weather is going to be anywhere between about 8 p.m. on Saturday evening through about 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, as everything pushes west-east across the area. Primary storm threats, damaging winds, certainly over 60 and could be even higher. I'll talk about that here in just a second. Tornadoes, hail to a lesser extent. We're really concerned about the winds and the tornado potential at this point, especially across the western half of our forecast area. And then also the localized flash flooding due to several periods of heavy rain moving across the area, especially across parts of far north Georgia. We'll talk about that here in just a second. So I wanted to break down sort of the outlooks that are out there right now from SPC just to address, where the threats are and the timing and everything. This is basically the day two outlook so we're sort of on the far eastern fringe of what is going to be a rather busy day tomorrow across like the Mississippi Valley on up into the upper Midwest as this system starts to get its act together. So late Friday night into early Saturday, parts of like far northwest Georgia, we could see some activity developing. At this point, we're not overly concerned about this. There could be a few storms that get strong where we could see maybe some brief wind gusts, locally heavy rain, but we're not expecting any tornadoes or large hail or anything out of this at this point. But since it's out there for folks, north and west of like Rome to Dalton, in those areas close to the Alabama state line, there may be a few storms out there. But again, this is basically going into early Saturday morning. We're not expecting things are going to clear out, believe it or not, after Saturday morning into the afternoon hours ahead of the main brunt of the system coming through our area Saturday night into early Sunday. So this is sort of the initial wave, if you will. But the big time frame and the big thing that we're talking about is what we could see on Saturday night into early Sunday. So much of the area is in an enhanced risk from SPC. It's a level 3 out of 5. And what is supporting this is the potential to see damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour, and could be even locally 70 plus, even up to 80 miles per hour, just based on what we're seeing with the wind fields out there. Tornadoes are definitely a possibility, and also with that, anywhere in the enhanced risk area, there could be a potential for a strong long track tornado. Now, strong tornadoes, after we rate them based on the damage, are EF2 or greater. So those of you that are familiar with the EF scale, that's kind of what we're talking about when we reference strong tornadoes. Hail, again, not a major concern, but still there. And then, of course, the elevated flood risk due to heavy rainfall, especially associated with the main line of thunderstorms moving across the area. So with that, kind of correlating with the outlook is I know a lot of you, we shared this in chat, the hazard risk area. And there's like a hatched area in that enhanced risk outlook. So anytime there's in day two, they don't really separate, or day three, I should say, they don't separate tornado, wind, and hail until you get to day 2 or day 1. So in day 3, it's just more of a combined severe weather probabilistic term. But that said, anything that's hatched, basically the ingredients are coming together to support what's called a significant severe weather event, which is basically from SPC saying that, there is a possibility, it's about 10% chance, but still there, that we could get a strong long track tornado, winds in excess of 75 miles per hour, and or large hail over 2 inches. Now, the hail over 2 inches is not going to be a concern in our area, but the damaging winds over 70 to 75, and then the tornado threat is definitely going to be there across a portion of our area Saturday night into early Sunday. So as we go through into Sunday, there's one little area in our far southeast area. If the storms kind of slow down, there is a trend that the overall severe threat is going to weaken late Saturday night and early Sunday as everything pushes to the east. But the threat's still going to be there across all of our forecast areas, especially as we go into Sunday morning across the far southeast counties. So just depending on where everything kind of lines up Saturday night into Sunday morning, at this point, basically after 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning Sunday, if the main line of storms is still over parts of our east central and southeast counties, the threat for severe weather is still going to be there. So that's kind of where this day 4 outlook is showing. Tonight into tomorrow, it'll become the new day 3. So just wanted to kind of show that because that's out there right now as well. Okay, so let's get into a couple of the parameters and the ingredients that are supporting this rather potentially significant severe weather event. The wind. Off the surface, we look at winds from the ground all the way up to like 10 or 15,000 feet. But in the lowest, 1,500 feet to 4,000 feet off the ground, we're seeing very, very strong winds in excess of 60 to as high as 80 miles per hour. And a lot of that, especially in the higher elevations, when you get thunderstorms that where you have updrafts and downdrafts all over the place, those winds aloft have a much better probability of actually reaching the surface. So that's what we're looking for with this swath of strong winds aloft within the atmosphere associated with the storm system is going to be moving across the area sometime Saturday night in conjunction with the showers and the thunderstorms moving through. So with that, it gives us increased confidence that, yes, the damaging wind potential is pretty high. And again, that sort of warrants the enhanced risk over the area. In addition to the wind fields, we're also looking at you probably hear us talk about instability, how much energy is in the atmosphere. And at night, it tends to wane a little bit, this time of year especially, even though it is March. But we usually see the greater energy and instability during the daylight hours. However, with this system, there's sufficient instability and energy that still exists in the atmosphere, along with those winds, that as everything comes through on Saturday night and into early Sunday, the risk for severe weather is gonna be there across the entire area. But yeah, the higher risk is definitely to our west, closer to the Alabama state line. But for folks that are in the eastern half of the area in our state, certainly don't let your guard down as we go through the overnight hours Saturday night into Sunday morning, given the energy that's there in the atmosphere, plus the wind energy that we're looking at as well. So I've got Keith here too. This is a couple of, not different model solutions, but we just wanted to talk about the timing, rough timing, which could adjust a little bit over the next few hours. But we do want to make sure that we kind of see what we're expecting based off of model radar simulation as we go into Saturday night.
Yeah, so putting together this briefing, we're sort of in that phase between the short range models and the long-term models. And so we're the time period we're talking about, that late Saturday into Sunday period, is in that in between the longer and the short term. So there's not a lot of models that go out and try to capture the period overnight, Saturday night into Sunday. But the ones that we do have, we're showing you here that give us sort of an idea of timing and what the look and the feel of the storms might be. The one on the left-hand side is one particular solution that ends at around 8 o'clock Saturday night. It is a little bit faster of the ones that we do have to look at, and it's showing that the storms could be approaching the Northwest Georgia area by as early as 6 to 8 p.m. Up in the Northwest. And then what you see on the back side of that into the south is generally a line could be broken, could be a number of supercells, which would be your individual tornadic type storms, especially back there where we are expecting more of an outbreak type thing setting up. But the one thing we'll be watching for back there is for those individual supercells that are developing in Mississippi, Alabama, and tracking to the east-northeast, and when and what part of the day that is occurring. So in this scenario, they're about midway across Alabama, mid-evening, which would parlay into something arriving into the state in the latter half of the evening, say 9 p.m. to the midnight time frame on a faster solution. So we'll be watching for, do they remain discrete and isolated, or do they congeal into a larger line with embedded supercells within the line, or embedded tornadoes within a squall line? We'll just have to see how that evolves between now and Saturday. We got some time to watch that and more model runs to go as we get there. The graphics on the right are from a model that's a little bit slower in the solution, but still it's showing that line approaching the part of the state between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. sometimes Saturday night, as early as 9 p.m., as late as 3 a.m., and then getting down into the southeast part of the state from 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. Sunday morning. So a lot of this could fluctuate plus or minus 3 to 6 hours over the next 1 to 2 days. And the reason for that is we've got, and why the models might struggle with this is there's actually two systems. There's one system that's causing the storms and the moderate risk and stuff that's happening tomorrow to the west in the Mississippi Valley and in the upper Midwest. And it's the second system that comes in behind that that's actually causing this. So until we sort of grapple with that first system, the models may struggle a little bit with timing and as we get closer to the event. So I'll turn it back over to Dave for the rest of it.
Okay. Thanks, Keith. Yeah, I think overall, though, we feel pretty good about the rough timing of everything moving through, sometime Saturday night into early Sunday at this point. So let's look quickly at the heavy rain flood potential outside of the severe threat. We don't want to ignore the fact that we could see localized flash flooding develop sometime Saturday night into early Sunday with all the rain that's going to be coming in. And it really depends also across the far north what we see like earlier today in the Saturday. We're not expecting a whole lot of rain, but ½ inch to an inch of rain earlier in the day on top of what we could see another 1 to 2 plus inches, if not more, Saturday night and early Sunday could certainly pose some problems for localized areas, small streams, creeks, urban areas like that. So the image that you see on the left is our expected rainfall, basically anywhere from 1 to 2 inches across much of the area. Higher amounts 2 to as much as 3, locally higher amounts across far north Georgia. And the probability of seeing more than 3 inches is that image on the right. It's not very high, but in that 10 to 20, 25% range, it's high enough that we could definitely see a few spots over 3 to 4 inches by the time we get into Sunday morning. So given that, the complex terrain over parts of North Georgia certainly elevates the flash flood and flood risk across those areas. So nothing is out right now. We're too early to issue any sort of flood watch or anything like that, or river flood warnings. But that's something in addition to the severe weather that those of you, especially if you're west and north of I-85, with the heavy rain flood potential, to definitely monitor and be prepared for. So that is it. We kind of summarize everything. We didn't want to go too detailed. There's really not a whole lot more detail to talk about at this point, since we're still like 2 to 3 days out. But I hope that everybody is, this helped a little bit, made some sense, and it's got people preparing for things over the weekend, especially heading into late Saturday night, and into Sunday morning for all of north and central Georgia. So again, severe weather is definitely a concern. Our confidence is high that we are going to see a severe weather event across the area. Just depending on where you're at, it could be as early as Saturday evening across far western, northwest part of Georgia to the early morning hours Sunday for parts of east central and southeast Georgia down towards like Swainsboro, Dublin, Vidalia, those areas. So the primary threats are going to be the damaging winds and tornadoes. Could see a little bit of hail, but that's going to be a lesser threat for us overnight into the overnight hours. And then the localized flash flooding concern is definitely going to be there, especially across parts of far north Georgia as we go into Saturday night and early Sunday. So with that, we are going to do another briefing tomorrow at 2 p.m. That's set up already. Those of you that are registered, likely already got a reminder. But if you have any other questions, we can go ahead and take a few of those right now.